the Harriet Tubman is such an important part of, Harriet Tubman, just for those who may not be familiar, she's like the principal character in the finale when all of the people come together, and her message is to keep going. But I also understand that she has huge significance in Baltimore as an organizer and leader. Well, I can tell you, I don't know that. I know a little bit about her, but I don't know a whole lot. But anyway, so I thought, as far as the projects that we're doing in this workshop, of all the pieces that we're building, Harriet needs to look attractive, and it's not a parody on Harriet. It's a beautiful caricature of her. So usually where I start, before I talk about this, is gridding out a design drawing. This isn't fully drawn out, but you can see the image of the person. I first divided the paper and decided, my scale for, how tall a foot would be. And then just place my figure in here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, slightly taller than 5 feet, which, is, I see as, kind of a common height. And then designing the puppet to meet our performance needs, but also meet the comfort of the performer, and achieving some height dimension, without going too tall that it's cumbersome to the performer, but that it can read from a distance and be easily moved and be graceful. Ashley was saying, we want something that's not going to be like so heavy and cumbersome that she moves like this. We want her to be able to have some grace when she moves, so we limited the scale. Well, it's still quite tall. It could still be lowered, but right now, the top of her scarf is at about 9 feet, the very, very top of her head. But we could, when we add in the head will be crafted paper mache mask in the round, so to speak, a whole head, which is like an empty shell of paper mache. And who here has done paper mache before? Okay. But the thing with paper mache, you need to form it over a form. Obviously, everybody remembers in kindergarten, almost everybody. It seems like everywhere I go, everybody's done a balloon with paper mache over it.
The planets in 4th grade.
Yes, because balloons are a nice way to make a beautiful, curvaceous form to form paper mache over, and then you pull the form out to have a hollow, lightweight shell. So, and then eventually, just to explain a little more of the design, this mask will be held on a pole that attaches to a backpack that this person is wearing. So that pole will come behind the person and run right along their spine and be attached down here and up here to a frame backpack structure. And then, so that's how the head is held up here. And then attached to this pole, we'll do a shoulder piece that attaches here, so that when we costume her, the costume can drape beautifully down. Okay. I haven't quite started working on hands yet, but eventually she can get some hands that can come out like so, that the performer can control, by short rods that they can control the hands with. See?
Is this the same person that's wearing the backpack, or needs 2 more new people?
Same person.
Same person.
And I emphasize that, well, the scale is small enough that it can be the same person. But 3-person pole puppets take a lot of coordination to look beautiful, because the body moves like this and the hands back here, because the people are not like really coordinated and trained. Whereas if you can have one central controller, that controller can coordinate, the movements so they're more beautiful. So anyway, eventually we'll make some sort of costume for her that will hang down, and the performer will create some sort of way for the performer to look out, an opening in the costume that's integrated into the costume. Any questions about the overall design before I talk about the head? Okay. So usually, just like babies when they're in the womb, the first, everything starts from the head. Babies are all head, and the body grows out. So, and the head is obviously in puppetry or in a human being is where the soul and where we see each other. So, and the same thing in puppetry, typically once we get our scale design drawing, we start with the head and then build out from there. So always the challenges with making caricatures is to create an accuracy in the contours of the face. You know, the height of the face to the width of the face, which I've already specced out here quite a bit with the help of a photograph. And I can take my photograph and with my ruler look at the relationship between the width of the face, which here is about 3¼ inches, and then I can go to the height of the face to 4 inches and make a ratio. 3¼ over 4 is the width to the height. And I transfer that to my graph drawing and do the same ratio of the width to the height. Also with the spacing of the nose, I noticed that, you know, with the ruler, the tip of her nose is exactly midpoint between her chin and where her scarf meets her forehead right here. So on the drawing, I mark that midpoint, and that's where the tip of her nose is. See? And you can do the same thing with the spacing of the eyes, with all the features of the face. I can accurately set the length of the lips, all just by this ruler on the photograph. Sometimes I'll print out the photograph on a piece of graph paper at home and just mark out all the different associated distances of things on the graph paper and do it that way. So that's enough of that.